Thank you. It's good to be here again tonight. I've been happy to talk with you these early first 2 nights. I hope this will be something beneficial to you. Please go ahead and open your Bibles to the 2nd chapter of Genesis. Go ahead and open your Bibles to the 2nd chapter of Genesis. The lessons we're going to be talking about tonight, the first one is selecting a spouse. Making the choice of who you're going to spend your life with in a married relationship. This is a very important choice. It is one that is probably within the top 4 or 5 decisions you make in your life. And then the second lesson we'll look at is how to be a good spouse. How to help develop that relationship that you have. So Genesis chapter 2. Look in verse 18. And the Lord God said, "It is not good for a man to be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him." Okay. So God had created the world. He had made man out of the dust of the earth. And He brought the animals to man and found there was not one that would be the partner to man. And so He found that there was something lacking. There was something needed. And so we go on reading in chapter 2. He causes a deep sleep to come on Adam. He takes a rib from Adam's side and creates woman, the first woman whose name was what? Eve. And we go on and we read in verse 24, or excuse me, 23, and Adam said, "This is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. So she shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." This idea of bringing a man and a woman together, developing a home, developing a family, is established by God. It's part of His plan for humans. The idea that they would become one flesh, they would become a unit to function as one. This was real important. God expected this unit to develop and work as a team. It's a very important decision, it's a very important thing that needs to have wisdom when we look at it. We need wisdom in making this choice. It's not a choice that should be made just out of a wild blue yonder. Just because you think this young lady or this gentleman happens to be very good to look at. Or maybe they have a nice voice that you like to listen to. Or maybe because they have lots of money. Okay. You need to have a very good, solid reason to make the choice. This is something that is important. Because you're going to try and develop or build a unit like God intended to be one flesh, to be together, to be man and wife, husband and wife. That's what God wants. He wants a home, a family that's striving to serve and work for Him. The original plan we see in the Garden of Eden, in the early business, in Genesis, that they come together. Now, this is, like I said, is very important. We make a good choice. We look to God for help. God is the one who can bring about, if we look to him for his wisdom, he is the one who can bring about us making the best choice. A lot of times when man tries to choose or to base their choice on what they think or what a person thinks, a lot of times it's something that's going to be lacking in judgment. And we really need to be careful because, again, like I said, this is a very serious nature. Legally, man has developed ways that we can dissolve the marriage and try again, called divorce. But that's really not what God wants, is it? God said that this is a serious matter. God said this is a serious issue. He thought that we need to take time to make the choice. It's something that we need to work at once we become a family, once we become a unit. It's something that we need to strive to make successful. And again, we need to be asking or looking to God for His help. In Malachi 2, this is a verse a lot of people need to know about. God does not like, God hates divorce. It's not something that He wants. In the beginning, divorce wasn't that way. But because the children of Israel, as humans, became angry or upset and decided they wanted a way out, Moses gave them this choice. Moses gave them divorce when it came back. But we need to look for God's help. We need to look and get God's help. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. That's what we've been looking at all this time. Proverbs chapter 19. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 14. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 14. Houses and riches are an inheritance from the Father. Is that just a minute? Make sure I'm in the right place. Yeah, Proverbs 19:14. Houses and riches are an inheritance from the Father, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. I can remember back when I was going through my wedding ceremony, my father-in-law, Ken Wilkie, some of you may know him, performed the ceremony, and he quoted this verse and quoted another one from Proverbs, that he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing. She's worth more than rubies, or valued more than gold. And these ideas, we're making the right choice. We're looking for something that's very serious, that's going to be very helpful for us to grow and develop. Now, also we look in James chapter 1, verse 17. And that's a verse that for some of you might know. James chapter 1. What does he tell us? Every good and perfect gift, what? Comes from God. This plan of having a home is something that God created. And a husband and a wife that can work together and make it successful are something that's very useful. Beauty, intelligence, wealth, those type of material or physical attributes, yes, they can be noticed, they can be something you can look at, but they shouldn't be what you base your decision on only. Probably the most important thing is, can this person help you in your relationship with the Lord? Can this person help you build a life that's faithful to the Lord? Proverbs 31:30. You can look real quick at that. We'll look at that whole verse, whole chapter in just a minute. But how does this person how are they going to connect you? How are they going to help you in your service to God? How are they going to build your spiritual life? Such a woman who can help you as a man grow in your service to God is one that's worth more than all the beauty pageant winners or all the wealthy heiresses that you could find.
But some women are so beautiful. What they need are the plastic faces that
Okay. Now, you know, we sit here and remember that our life on earth, our life here on earth is just for a short time. But eternity is forever. And that's what we're trying to reach. We need to be thinking, how can we reach the life hereafter when we live with God? Having a wife who's a devout Christian, having a mate that's going to help us serve Jehovah or Jesus is something that we need to make. That should be number one on our list. That should be a very important reason why we select a person as a mate. Another thing is this person, does she have discretion? Is she going to do the right thing at the right time? Is she going to be one who will be willing to put
That's what I'm looking for. I ain't found her yet.
Okay, listen. Are we going to be able to put, is she going to be able to put the needs of the family before her own needs? You know, that's the same way we can kind of turn these things around for the male also. But right now we're looking at from the man's standpoint. But the idea, being able to put yourself kind of in a second or a lower level, but see the needs of others. The idea of putting others first is the service of a Christian. And this is something that we need to really be thinking about. Some people think that beauty or intelligence or wealth, these type of things are what's important. But again, those things are there for just temporary. Those things are there for just a short time. We, in the United States, sometimes joke about these type of things. We talk about how some of these people put these above others, and it's very ridiculous. A lot of times it's very, we have people in the movies, we have people in high positions, and they concern themselves only with the benefits that they can receive. And that's not what we should do. When we go into the marriage, we go into the family unit, it's how can we help each other? How can we work and help each other? Now, how will the person help build the home? How will the person help my children? Or how will they help establish this home that's developing? In the Bible, who's the head of the house? Who's the head of the home? According to God's Word. The husband. Is the woman going to be willing to accept that position? Is she going to be willing to accept the husband as the head of the house? That's something that is a problem. Some women don't want to accept that authority, that position. And it's something that creates a problem. Another thing that we need to think about is she going to be willing to listen to the husband? Let's go over to Proverbs chapter 19. Okay? Go over to Proverbs chapter 19. And we're there. You're right. And look in verse 13. A foolish son is the ruin of his father, and the contentions of a wife are the continual drippings. If you have a wife that consistently argues or is not happy about the way things are going, if you have a wife that will continue to gripe and complain about different things, it can be a very difficult problem. It can be a very hard situation to deal with as the man. Okay? Another one we want to look at, chapter 21. Turn over to chapter 21. And verse 9. It is better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman.
A wise house.
Okay. So we have these things that we can look about. They're, it's a very important choice. It's something that we need to look at a great deal. Something that we need to take time in making our decision. I've known of people that have made their choice in who they're going to marry in just a few short weeks. I think we really need to be more concerned about this because it is a lifelong agreement that we make. Okay? So, now let's go to the other side. When we're looking at a man, when a woman's looking at a man, what some things that she might look at? Well, we go to Proverbs chapter 12, verse 10. How does he treat animals? How does he treat others around him? If he's courteous, he's kind, he's gracious to them, that could show that he is considerate. But if he's rude, harsh, treats them rough, what's that tell a woman? He's going to be treating that person the same way. He might treat her the same way. Does he listen to the advice? Does he listen to other people? If he's closed-minded, if he doesn't listen to other people, will he listen to her? Because in a family unit, even though the husband is in the driver's seat, so to speak, is it all his control? Is he to be dominant? Or is it to be a union where it's a kind of a mutual attitude? You see, he needs to listen. He needs to understand her. Although he may have final say, final decision, but he still needs to listen. And if you see, before you're married, if you see he's not willing to listen, that might give you an idea of something to think about. What type of company does he keep? What type of individuals does he run around with? What type of places does he go? A lot of times women say, well, I can change him. Is that right? No. There's some that might. I know of a few that have. But I know more that had no real effect on it. So what does he do? Who does he hang around with? What type of activities is he involved in? What does he spend his time doing? That should be something that a woman might want to look at when she's picking a mate. And this is something we look in chapter 13. Let's go to chapter 13 of Proverbs. Chapter 13. And all these verses that are listed, these are things that you can look at. Proverbs 13 and 20. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. The type of people that we live with or we hang around with, the places we go, the activities, the type of books we read, the movies, the music we listen to, that has a thing about our character, that tells about the type of person we are. Okay? Now, is he quick-tempered? Is he going to be patient and kind and listen? Is he going to be understanding? Or is he going to be angry and upset because things aren't done right or things aren't done the way he wants it? How does he make his money? Is he an honest individual? Is he someone that's hardworking? Or is he someone that will take the opportunities and take the risk and maybe make a large sum of money, but maybe not? Is he a person that will cheat a group of people? Take the easy way? If he's willing to be dishonest to others, what about to his wife? Does he always have to have the last say? Does he always have to be the one that tells this is what it is? Put his 2 cents in. You know, sometimes it's important just to listen to the other person, right? Sometimes it's just important to listen to them tell you how they feel or what their problem is. They may want just to tell you what the problem is and have that knowledge that you're concerned, that you're listening, instead of you trying to solve the issue for them. That's something that men do. I tell you right now, women, ladies, men want to solve problems. If you want to tell them a problem, they want to just tell you, well, here's what you do. And a lot of times that's not really what you want, is it? You just want somebody to listen to you, someone to understand you. And men, we have that problem that we just want to say, well, here's what you should do.
Is that understanding?
No, that's bossy. If you say, here's what you should do, you know, if you're trying to tell her this is what you ought to do, you're being a boss instead of being a listener. She's needing understanding. She's needing someone to hear her because she has this issue.
What if you would hear her out and then say, well, we gotta come up with a good solution here.
Well, you know,
if you know the answer right away what to do,
but still,
think about that and
you know,
show that you're really concerned first, and then come up with a
well, okay. You need to be concerned. You need to show, like I said, we can come.
Not to say right now. You gotta do this.
Okay. Well, our question time is going to be at the end. Remember. Okay. Okay. But you know, we just need some. Like I said, women a lot of times just need to be heard, and that's something that we as men need to understand. Okay. Now, also, how does he feel about the poor or people who don't have everything like he does? Does he see them as weaklings or people that are not worth his attention and his time? Or does he see people who need help? How does he have compassion for others? These are all important things and these are not just a checklist to go by. But these are some things that we want to look at, or a lady should look at when she's looking for a husband. Well, what should she avoid? A man who still flirts or chases after other women when he has his own lady picked. You know, this type of an individual, a womanizer, can be a major issue, a major problem. Quick-tempered man, one who doesn't have. Okay. We've got a lot to go through, please. Okay. A man who can't control his tongue, who can't control his comments. Someone who is very quick to say, you didn't do it right, or you did it wrong, or put the blame on other people. Alcohol or drug abuse, these type of things show that he doesn't have control over himself. The fact that he allows alcohol or drugs to take control over him. The same thing with his money, his financial areas. If he can't control his finances, he can't keep the money for the family. That's another issue. If he's always out of money. These things are things that we have to look at. These are important decisions that people look at and need to make when they choose a spouse. And again, the family unit was established by God in the beginning. And it was meant to be one that would last through their life. It was meant to develop a home in which children would be raised. And the ideas and the knowledge of God, Jehovah, and the message of the Bible would be taught. And so this is something that was really important. Now, the next lesson, we go on to the lesson on page 9. Let's flip on over to page 9. I'm going through this quickly. I'm trying to get both of them done tonight. But how can we be a good spouse? Once we've decided, once we've chosen a mate, what's the thing that we should do to... Oops, I hit the wrong button there. What should we do? Come on, move along. Okay.
But I'm going to manual override.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to come on.
And the video of the turbo prop has a manual override on the top of the top control. You always have control over that thing.
I think I hit the wrong button. Let's see. I want to go to the computer. There we go. I got it. Okay. But anyway, how can we work to make our relationship between a husband and wife better? How can we develop things that help our connection, our relationship, to grow the way God intended? God planned for the husband and wife to be together forever until their life on earth ended. Okay? That idea was planned from the beginning. It was a union that would last. It wasn't something that if we didn't like what was going on, like man does today, we can change and go back to something different. God intended it to be for each person's lifetime. Now, when we look at, we're going to look at the female first, how to be a good wife. In Proverbs chapter 31, let's turn in our Bibles to Proverbs chapter 31. Okay? And this is a well-known passage. This is a well-known passage that is put together at the end of Proverbs. Who can find, starting in verse 10, of chapter 31. Who can find a virtuous wife? for her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax, and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ship. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night, and provides food for her household, and a portion for her maidservant. She considers a field and buys it. From her profit she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hand to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor, yet she reaches out her hand to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, while he sits among the elders. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in times to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of a household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceit, and beauty is vain. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Okay, this passage is what we're going to kind of spend the rest of this little time about with the women. A woman who can be depended upon, a woman who's trustworthy in this relationship, one who the man can kind of have as a partner. This is something that's very important in the relationship. This is one who will make a good spouse. One that when they have work to do, he can depend on her to do part or her share. He can trust her with the income. He can trust her with what responsibilities she's given. This is something that is important, that we have this confidence, we have this trust amongst the man and a wife. And that's mentioned here in verse 11. Okay, we go on, and there's a love between the two. You notice, we read in verse 12 and other places, there's that respect, there's that love that we show, that we see. In the New Testament, it gives us the idea that the husband is to show respect or show love to his mate by placing her in a position of adoration. The husband shows that he respects her, that he has let me go back a minute. He has this feeling that he knows that she will do what is right, what is good, and what is proper. The husband devotes himself to her. You know, even though the husband may be the head of the house, he's still showing her the respect as an individual, as a person, not being in a dominated position or a controlling position. And this is something that this love and respect is always evident, is there. Okay? Also, she is a person who has practical skills. If you notice in this section we read, she's very industrious. She does a lot of things. She grows plants. She harvests. She sews. She cooks. She takes care of her household. She does a lot. She's not sitting there making sure her nails are perfect. Okay? She's not sitting there making sure that her hair is all just right. She's working. She's doing, taking care of responsibilities. It's important. The question is raised here, well, should a woman, should a mother be out of the home? And that's up to you as a husband and wife to decide. I know it's difficult in this age of society, to be able to pay for everything. It's hard. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's important that a woman help out. But the thing we need to think about are these extra things that we're wanting, are they really necessary? Is it really necessary? Are we putting something beyond what's important?
That's why I'm trying to put the women through college, prepare them for failure, take that to work, and neglecting the men.
Okay. Is it actually going to be something that's that important? Some of the items, some of the material possessions that we have that we think we need to have, are they really that important? Or is it more important that she stay home and deal with the situation? Deal with the things that happen at home. Okay? There are some studies that are come out. There are some things that come out that said, it's not that the fact that the woman goes out of the home doesn't really affect what happens. Sometimes it's that way. It doesn't always affect, but there are some situations where, and this study that's written in your material talks about children. There have been studies that show that a mother who stays at home and actively works with her child, is there to read and to talk with her child and to teach the child in her home, helps the child in the early years. The first 3 or 4 years of a child's life is when they learn the most. It's when the foundation is established for the child. And if a mother is vacant from that time, there's a gap, there's a hole. This time period, the early part of the child's life, is something that we really need to be concerned with. Helping them to start or to build a foundation for their life.
I'm aware what I want to be there when my wife and me cannot be.
So, this is a wife's, this is the role of the wife to help take care of the children. The father also is given the job of working with the children, but the father has the responsibility of providing for the family. And so, this idea of is it important enough for the wife to work? That's your choice to make. The fact is that it's real important to be there for the children. That investment in this time period is something that will give a lot more returns than just having all these different material possessions. We may do without certain possessions while she's investing the time in the children. That's something to think about. Okay? Now, let's go on here. Another thing about, we see the woman, the virtuous woman mentioned in Proverbs 31, is that she's compassionate. She cares not for herself as much, but her family and people outside. She deals with the poor. She reaches out to others. She's an individual who shows compassion. She shows character. She's a person that has wisdom and kindness. This type of an individual is one that's a mate that men look for. She works to help take care of things for her family. Her family doesn't go without.
She promised others. They go so far to the other extreme. Like this man, I wasn't going to let him with the family. He starved himself trying to leave for his family. He had a heart attack and died.
Okay. But anyway, again, we get back to probably one of the most important things is the fear of the Lord. She's one that's going to work with a husband to develop a home where God is the center. She's going to help build a family that's based on God. Now, things that we've noticed before that would be negatives, being contentious or argumentative, being hateful, one that doesn't show respect or doesn't show gratitude. These are type of things that would be difficult for a family unit to grow with. Okay, now let's go to the husband's side. We don't have a passage like we do in chapter 31. We don't have a passage that says here's what a husband should be. Here in Proverbs, we don't have this passage that says this is what he identifies as a strong quality character of a husband. But we do have the book of Proverbs, and we've been talking about it here these last few nights. There are several issues, several things that give us ideas of what a man should do, what things should happen for a man. Proverbs 31, verse 31. The idea is the woman is given an opportunity to develop herself. She has some freedom to do things for herself, by herself. She's not dominated or controlled by her husband. I have seen relationships where the husband treats his wife almost as an animal, someone that's a pet. That's not what God intended, is it? They're to function as a unit together. She needs the opportunity, she needs the abilities to work in her own way, to reap the benefits of her efforts. He's not to treat her as simply personal servant. Okay? Also, if you notice in Proverbs 31, praise is given to the wife. Respect is shown. That's something that's important that a man should do. Show respect. Give her praise. Give her gratitude about what she has accomplished or what she does. A lot of times, that doesn't happen. The man goes out to work, he receives a paycheck. He receives benefits. He may get promoted. He may have respect from the community. Those things bring honor and respect to him. But what about the woman at home? You know, this is important that a husband show that respect, show that honor, show that gratitude. Tell her that he is thankful, he praises her for what she does. That is something that will help her in her role. It will help the two together become a stronger unit. to know that she's appreciated, to know that she's understood. Okay? A willingness to trust her, have confidence in her and what she does, to know that she's going to do what's right, have confidence and trust in her, to think of her as an equal, her intelligence, her faithfulness, her ability. This type of thing is not always there. I know I taught world culture and world history. In a lot of places in the world, women are not seen as equals. Is that what God intended? God intended then it to be a unit that was a family.
A woman is more than equal to a man. She can do anything a man can do and a whole lot more.
Okay. But anyway, this idea to treat them with respect, to show that this person has talent, this is important. And also, let's turn to Proverbs chapter 5 real quick. Proverbs chapter 5. Verses 15 through 21. Drink water from your own cistern, and running water from your own well. Should your fountain be dispersed abroad, streams of water in the streets, let them be only your own, and not for strangers with you. Let your foundation be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth. As a loving deer and a graceful doe, let her breast satisfy you at all times, and always be enraptured with her love. For why shouldn't you, my son, be enraptured with by the immoral woman, and be embraced in the art of a seductress? For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his path. This idea, this what they're talking about here is we need to continue to grow in love, to grow in this relationship that we started as a young man and woman. We're going to change. We're going to get different. I'm not the same. I don't look the same as I was when I was 20 years old. And my life has changed something. But as we've grown through the years, there's a faithfulness of love that develops between each other. And as you grow and live in this union, it needs to develop. Just because maybe we've gotten older, maybe we don't look the same. We don't want to change or to destroy what God has developed. This is something that is very important. To keep the family together. To keep the family growing and continuing. It takes effort, it takes work. The importance of a healthy family is in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 29. He who troubles his own house will inherit the wind. What's that telling us? If you get trouble in your own house, getting it solved can be like stopping the wind. How hard is it to stop the wind?
Don't that mean the whirlwind will come in?
It's just talking about trying to deal with issues once you allow them to get started. The family, okay, the joy and the life that God intends for us to have as a family that He established back there in the book of Genesis. Let's go over to Ecclesiastes. Okay? Let's turn over to Ecclesiastes chapter 9. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 9. Live joyfully with the wife whom you love all the days of your life, your main life, which he has given you under the sun, all your days of vanity, for that is your portion in life, and in the labor which you perform under the sun. It's written right here or in your book. The idea is that a unit, a family, husband and wife, grow together in respect and love. They grow together in how they feel for each other. Because as they live, they work with each other and they develop this strength, this bond between each other. And it's not something that is based on physical attraction. It's not something that's based on wealth. It's not something that's based on talents or how well someone can do certain things, but it's based on the relationship and the feelings and that they have for each other, but it's also based on their respect for God. The wisdom that we have in Proverbs tells us that this is what God intends, this is what God expects. And if we're going to be pleasing to God,
do we all understand what the saying under the sun means? What means under the sun? The Jehovah's Witnesses don't understand that. But if you to understand that, even you try your best to explain it, that would blow their false ideas all away.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the idea is that this way that we deal with things is we need to remember to put God in the picture. We need to take God's wisdom for what we do. Okay. So we'll finish up here. Someone signal to John or others there that we're ready for the break.